The story of Queen Elizabeth II is the story of a woman who never expected to be queen, yet became the longest reigning and one of the most beloved monarchs in British history. Her life was a century-long lesson in duty, devotion, and quiet adaptation. The Unexpected Heir, 1926-1936. Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor was born on April 21, 1926, in London. She was the first child of the Duke and Duchess of York, Albert, known as Bertie within the family, and Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. Her grandfather, King George V, was on the throne, and her uncle Edward, Prince of Wales, was the heir. At the time of her birth, she was third in line to the throne, but it was considered highly unlikely she would ever become queen. She enjoyed a relatively private and happy childhood with her younger sister, Margaret, adored by her parents and nannies. Everything changed in December 1936. Her uncle, King Edward VIII, abdicated the throne to marry Wallis Simpson, a divorced American socialite. This seismic event thrust her father, the reluctant Duke of York, onto the throne as King George VI. 10-year-old Lilibet was now the heiress presumptive. Part 2, The Princess at War. 1936-1947. Her education shifted immediately to prepare her for her future role. She studied constitutional history, law, and French. During World War II, like many children, she and Princess Margaret were evacuated to Windsor Castle for their safety. In 1940, at age 14, she made her first radio broadcast to the children of the Commonwealth, a sign of her growing public role. At 18, she insisted on contributing directly to the war effort, joining the Auxiliary Territorial Service, ATS. She trained as a driver and mechanic, becoming the first female member of the royal family to serve in the military. It was also during this period that her relationship with a distant cousin, Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark, a dashing young naval officer, blossomed from a childhood crush into a romance. They married in Westminster Abbey on November 20, 1947, in a post-war ceremony that provided a splash of color to a weary nation. Philip became the Duke of Edinburgh, a young queen, 1952-1970s. In early 1952, King George VI's health, weakened by stress and smoking, failed. While Elizabeth and Philip were on a royal tour in Kenya, standing in for the ailing king, the news arrived. Her father had died in his sleep on February 6, 1952. At just 25 years old, she was now queen. She immediately returned to London, a poised and solemn figure to begin her new life. Her coronation on June 2, 1953, was a landmark moment, the first major event to be televised nationally, bringing the ancient ceremony into the homes of millions and modernizing the monarchy. The post-war era was a time of immense social change and the gradual dissolution of the British Empire, transforming into the Commonwealth. Queen Elizabeth II became a constant, touring the world as a symbol of unity and continuity. The White Commonwealth tours of the 1950s and 60s were grueling but crucial for diplomatic relations. The 1960s and 70s brought the first major challenges to the monarchy's image, with increased media scrutiny and a more questioning public. The 1969 television documentary Royal Family was an attempt to show the human side of the Windsors, but it ultimately demystified them and arguably increased public appetite for intrusion. The annus horribilis and modern scrutiny. 1980s, 1990s. The latter part of her reign was marked by intense personal and public trials. The marriages of her three eldest children, Charles, Anne, and Andrew, all publicly collapsed in spectacular fashion. The low point came in 1992, which the Queen famously called her annus horribilis, horrible year. The separation of Prince Andrew from Sarah Ferguson. The separation of Princess Anne from Captain Mark Phillips. The publication of a devastating book detailing the unhappy marriage of Charles and Diana. And most dramatically, a devastating fire at Windsor Castle. The public mood turned critical, questioning the cost and relevance of the monarchy. The situation was compounded by the tragic death of Diana, Princess of Wales, in 1997. The Queen's initial private reaction at Balmoral was perceived as cold and out of touch by a public in deep mourning. It was a rare misstep in her handling of public sentiment, though her live television address to the nation days later helped soothe the anger. The situation was compounded by the tragic death of Diana, Princess of Wales, in 1997. The Queen's initial private reaction at Balmoral was perceived as cold and out of touch by a public in deep mourning. It was a rare misstep in her handling of public sentiment, though her live television address to the nation days later helped soothe the anger. The Golden Jubilee in later years. 2000s, 2010s. The new millennium saw a remarkable recovery in her popularity. The Golden Jubilee in 2002, marking 50 years on the throne, was a huge, celebratory success. Despite occurring in the same year, she lost both her mother and her sister, Margaret. She continued to modernize the monarchy at a steady pace, embracing the internet and social media while never compromising the core traditions of her role. In 2012, she celebrated her Diamond Jubilee, 60 years, another massive national celebration, capped by a memorable appearance, alongside James Bond, Daniel Craig, in a filmed sketch for the London Olympics opening ceremony, showing a rare and celebrated glimpse of humor. She became Britain's longest reigning monarch on September 9, 2015, surpassing her great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria. The final chapter and the final years of her life were defined by the COVID-19 pandemic and the declining health of her husband, Prince Philip, who died in April 2021 at age 99. Her filmed address to the nation during the first lockdown and her solitary sitting at his funeral were poignant images of steadfastness and personal sacrifice. In June 2022, the nation celebrated her platinum Jubilee 70 years with a spectacular 4-day festival. It was a powerful testament to the deep affection and respect she commanded. Just days later, she witnessed the resignation of Prime Minister Boris Johnson and welcomed her. 15th p.m., Liz Truss at Balmoral Castle, fulfilling her duty to the very end. Queen Elizabeth II died peacefully at Balmoral Castle on September 8, 2022, at the age of 96. Her son immediately ascended to the throne as King Charles III. Legacy and significance. Queen Elizabeth II's reign was defined by duty and stability. She was an unwavering symbol of continuity, serving through 15 British prime ministers and 14 U.S. presidents. Adaptation. She expertly guided the monarchy through radical social, technological, and political change, allowing it to evolve while maintaining its core mystique. The Commonwealth. She was a passionate advocate for the Commonwealth of Nations, visiting every member country and acting as its dedicated head. Quiet diplomacy. She never gave a personal opinion or gave a press interview, maintaining a strict political neutrality that earned her universal respect. She was not just a monarch. She was a constant, reassuring presence in the lives of millions, a figure who embodied the very identity of the United Kingdom for over 7 decades.